She thinks she can handle this? How quaint, muttered Gregory Lang as he leaned against the polished ice counter, smirking at the new staff member entering the luxury ice palace. Emily Carter moved quietly through the grand entrance, her simple gray sweater and dark jeans blending into the shadows of the opulent lobby, yet her calm demeanor immediately drew subtle attention from the patrons sipping hot cocoa in crystal mugs. The palace glimmered with sparkling chandeliers reflecting off the pristine ice sculptures, the cold air tinged with the faint scent of peppermint and vanilla, a sensory playground most employees took pride in. Yet for Emily it was just another backdrop for her work. At 28, Emily had chosen simplicity over showiness, preferring comfort and focus to flashy attire, her chestnut hair pulled into a neat low ponytail, her brown eyes scanning the intricate ice carvings as if reading a silent language. Gregory, in his tailored navy suit, did not notice the quiet precision of her movements. All he saw was someone he deemed inexperienced, a target for his amusement. He called out with an exaggerated smile, "Emily, perhaps you can show us how you handle the chocolate fountain without flooding the floor, if that's even possible for someone like you." His voice echoed off the marble floors, drawing a few chuckles from other staff and causing Emily to pause for a fraction of a second, just enough for her mind to settle into a rhythm she had mastered long before entering this world. She smiled faintly, not from arrogance, but from the understanding that appearances were deceiving, and that the real measure of skill was often invisible until the moment it mattered. As she adjusted her gloves, her fingers brushing over the smooth surface of the counter, she remembered the countless hours of meticulous work she had done in past kitchens and fine dining experiences, skills honed silently, away from the gaze of the judgmental. The room seemed to pulse with anticipation as Gregory continued, unaware of the depth of Emily's expertise, his words laced with mockery as he instructed, "Don't spill a single drop, and try not to trip over the ornaments. It would be amusing if you failed." Emily's eyes remained steady, her breathing calm, and in that suspended moment, the staff's whispers and the slight rolling of eyes from the customers created a tension that hung thickly in the air. She moved toward the chocolate fountain, each step deliberate, gliding across the polished floor with the grace of someone fully in command of their surroundings. The ice sculptures glinted under the overhead lights, reflecting her focused expression back to her like silent witnesses, while the murmurs of doubt from the staff filled the background as though underscoring their misjudgment. For Emily, this was not just about the fountain, it was about precision, poise, and proving, without a word, that the quiet ones often carry the most unexpected talents. The air of the palace seemed to hold its breath, the clinking of spoons and the faint hum of refrigeration fading into a quiet anticipation, signaling that something remarkable was about to unfold, something that would challenge the assumptions of every person present, and in that electric stillness, Emily Carter prepared to show that competence and skill often reside where no one expects to look. Emily moved behind the counter, her hands hovering for a moment above the tempered chocolate, feeling its cool, silky texture through her gloves. The staff watched with barely concealed amusement, whispering among themselves as if they could anticipate failure, their smirks and eye rolls a chorus of disbelief. She adjusted the spout of the fountain, aligning it perfectly over the tray below, her attention to detail precise and unflinching. Outside, the winter sun reflected off the palace windows, casting a prismatic glow across the marble floors, and the crystal chandeliers sparkled, making the air shimmer with an almost magical quality that seemed to heighten the anticipation of every onlooker. Emily drew in a slow, deliberate breath, recalling the meticulous hours she had spent perfecting her craft in kitchens and event halls across the country, moments where her focus had turned even the most chaotic tasks into seamless performances. She poured the first stream of chocolate with a smooth, continuous motion, creating a perfect arc that landed exactly in the center of the tray, the flow steady, without a single drip or spatter. Gregory Lang, noticing her calm composure, furrowed his brow, leaning slightly forward as his smile faltered, sensing that this would not be the spectacle of failure he had expected. The other employees shifted uncomfortably, their confidence in mockery wavering as the chocolate fountain glistened under Emily's careful hands, the soft hum of the refrigeration units fading into the background as every eye remained fixed on her movements. She tilted the tray just enough to catch the flow at the edge, allowing the liquid to pool uniformly, demonstrating a mastery that was subtle yet undeniable. The customers in the lobby, previously whispering politely to each other, now leaned in slightly, curiosity replacing casual observation, as if drawn by an invisible thread to the grace and precision Emily displayed. Not a word was spoken, yet the tension in the room was palpable, each step she took measured, every gesture deliberate, turning what seemed to be a simple task into a display of skill and control. Emily's gaze occasionally flicked up, meeting Gregory's eyes with a serene steadiness that communicated more than words ever could, her quiet confidence forcing him to reassess his assumptions, the smirk disappearing almost imperceptibly from his face. The delicate decorations around the chocolate fountain, intricate sugar sculptures of winter animals and crystal-clear icicles, reflected Emily's movements back at her like a silent audience, emphasizing the care and artistry with which she approached her task. The murmurs of disbelief and astonishment grew subtly louder as each pour landed perfectly, the once dismissive staff now exchanging nervous glances, their previous certainty eroding with every flawless action she performed. In the midst of this, Emily remained composed, her focus unwavering, the soft click of her shoes against the marble floor and the gentle swish of her sweater sleeves the only audible sounds as she moved through the task with effortless precision, turning mockery into silent admiration before the moment had even reached its climax. Emily reached for the delicate tray of handcrafted ice sculptures, her fingers steady as she assessed the intricate designs, each piece a test of balance and precision that could easily topple if handled carelessly. The staff, initially full of mirth, now exchanged subtle glances, their amusement waning as they noticed the meticulous care in her movements. Gregory Lang stepped closer, attempting to maintain control over the narrative, his voice a little tighter than before. "Do not drop anything, Emily, we would hate to see the disaster unfold." Emily's expression remained calm, her lips curved in a slight, confident smile, and her eyes scanned the sculptures, noting the weak points and planning the most efficient path for transport. Each sculpture glimmered under the overhead lights, casting rainbow reflections across the floor and walls, the air slightly chilled as the palace's climate control maintained the perfect freezing temperature to keep the ice pristine. She picked up the first sculpture with a gentle lift, her grip secure yet delicate, feeling the weight and balance through her fingertips, adjusting her stance slightly to ensure the tray remained level. The staff, who had been leaning against counters and whispering to each other, now straightened subtly, a quiet tension replacing their earlier laughter as they realized Emily's skill was not coincidental. Customers lingered near the display, their conversation hushed, the faint clinking of crystal glasses in the background mixing with the distant hum of refrigeration units, creating a soundtrack that underscored the suspense. Emily moved with a fluid precision, navigating the floor without hesitation, her attention unwavering as she shifted the tray from one display to another, setting each sculpture carefully in its intended spot. Gregory's eyes narrowed, his mind racing to maintain authority, yet each step Emily took was deliberate and confident, leaving no room for error, no opportunity for accident. He opened his mouth to speak, but a pause lingered as he watched her glide past, the tray perfectly balanced, the ice untouched, and for the first time, he felt a flicker of doubt about the assumptions he had made when mocking her earlier. The other staff members subtly stepped back, creating a clear path, their previous confidence giving way to quiet observation, as Emily completed her careful task without a single misstep. A soft murmur spread among the onlooking patrons, admiration barely audible but growing in strength, the kind of recognition that comes from witnessing skill that seems effortless yet is rooted in experience and focus. Emily placed the final sculpture on its pedestal with an almost imperceptible adjustment to ensure perfect alignment, her eyes lifting briefly to meet Gregory's, steady and calm, conveying without words that she had turned the impossible task into a flawless execution. The atmosphere shifted in an instant, the staff frozen in their positions, the room vibrating with silent astonishment, a shared realization that the quiet, simple woman they had underestimated had performed with the precision and grace of someone who had been honing her craft far beyond their expectations. The quiet tension in the lobby held for a brief heartbeat before shifting as Emily Carter straightened, her hands resting lightly on the edge of the counter, surveying the room with the composed confidence of someone who had anticipated every challenge before it arrived. Gregory Lang and the staff remained frozen in their positions, their previous amusement replaced with a dawning awareness that they had underestimated the new employee in their midst. Patrons who had been casually observing now leaned closer, their eyes widening in subtle astonishment at the flawless execution of a task that had seemed precarious just moments before. The marble floors reflected the soft light from the chandeliers above, creating dancing patterns that flickered across Emily's calm expression, a silent testament to her mastery of the moment. A soft click of a spoon against a crystal dish echoed faintly, drawing attention back to the intricate arrangements of ice and chocolate, each piece perfectly aligned and untouched, as if guided by invisible hands. Emily's eyes swept across the room once more, catching the glance of a young server who had been whispering nervously to a colleague. Her serene smile offered reassurance without a word, a quiet reminder that confidence need not be loud to be commanding. Gregory, adjusting the cuff of his tailored sleeve, attempted to regain a semblance of authority, clearing his throat and taking a careful step forward, yet even his voice was tinged with hesitation, the words he had planned to use for mockery faltering as he processed the scene before him. The staff exchanged uneasy glances, their whispered reassurances fading as the realization settled in that Emily's calm precision had transformed a potentially chaotic moment into a flawless presentation of skill and control. Outside the large windows, the afternoon sunlight shifted, casting a warmer glow across the lobby and catching the edges of the ice sculptures in brilliant clarity, highlighting the careful craftsmanship and the ease with which Emily navigated the environment. Every gesture, from her deliberate adjustments to the final placement of a particularly delicate sculpture, resonated with an unspoken command of her craft, each movement reinforcing the undeniable impression that her talents extended far beyond the expectations set by her unassuming appearance. The room remained silent, the only sounds the soft shuffle of polished shoes against marble, the distant hum of refrigeration, and the occasional breath of awe from onlookers who were quietly acknowledging the extraordinary display before them. Emily turned briefly to meet Gregory's gaze, her brown eyes steady and clear, conveying a subtle but powerful assertion that competence is not defined by appearances, and in that silent exchange, the staff recognized the reversal of power that had taken place. A slow, collective intake of breath from the assembled employees and patrons marked the moment of realization, the atmosphere thick with the quiet astonishment that comes when assumptions are shattered, and in that charged stillness, Emily Carter stood composed, a simple woman whose actions spoke louder than any words, leaving the staff and onlookers alike to reconcile the difference between expectation and reality, and the room held that electric pause, suspended in awe at her understated brilliance. As the final arrangement of ice sculptures settled into place and the chocolate fountain flowed perfectly, the subtle hum of admiration filled the room without a single word being spoken. Gregory Lang stood frozen for a moment, his usual confidence eroded by the undeniable precision and grace Emily Carter had displayed, and the staff exchanged hesitant glances, each one recognizing silently that their assumptions had been completely overturned. The customers, who had been lingering at the edges of the lobby, now leaned forward with subtle smiles, their eyes wide as they took in the flawless execution of tasks that, mere minutes ago, had seemed daunting. Emily adjusted her gloves and took a slow, deliberate step back, her posture relaxed yet imbued with quiet authority, the contrast between her simple attire and the luxurious surroundings accentuating the impression of understated mastery. The chandeliers reflected the soft afternoon sunlight onto the polished marble floors, casting shifting patterns across the room that danced around Emily's calm presence, further highlighting the meticulous care she had shown in every movement. Gregory, swallowing the unease creeping into his chest, cleared his throat and attempted a controlled comment, yet the words faltered as he struggled to reconcile the skill he had just witnessed with the preconceived notions he had carried. The staff, some with folded arms and others with hesitant nods, remained rooted in place, their expressions a mixture of awe and reluctant respect, realizing that Emily's quiet diligence and attention to detail had elevated an ordinary task into a demonstration of expertise. Emily allowed her gaze to sweep across the room, making brief eye contact with a few staff members, offering a calm acknowledgement of their presence without condescension, her serene confidence communicating more effectively than any words could have. Each sculpture, each delicate swirl of chocolate, gleaned as a testament to her unspoken knowledge and practiced skill, and the soft ambient sounds of the palace, low conversations, gentle clinks of glass, and the subtle hiss of climate control systems seemed to fade into the background, allowing the focus to rest entirely on the quiet brilliance of her actions. Patrons who had initially arrived to enjoy the spectacle of the Ice Palace now watched Emily with a mix of surprise and admiration, noting the seamless way she navigated the challenges and maintained impeccable composure. Gregory, finally straightening his posture and forcing a measured breath, looked around the lobby, aware that the silent acknowledgement of her skill had fundamentally shifted the dynamics of authority in the room, the staff unable to mask their respect even as they tried. Emily turned toward the entrance, her movements calm and deliberate, and the subtle shift in energy among staff and patrons alike reinforced the quiet power of competence and precision, the lesson of skill revealed without ostentation, leaving the room imbued with a reverent hush that spoke volumes about the underestimated individual who had turned a moment of potential embarrassment into a showcase of flawless ability. With the ice sculptures perfectly in place and the chocolate fountain flowing without a single mishap, Emily Carter stepped back, her posture calm and assured as she surveyed the room, the atmosphere thick with silent admiration. Gregory Lang and the staff remained rooted, their previous laughter and mockery replaced by a quiet, uneasy respect as they watched her navigate the intricate setup with precise movements, each step demonstrating an unspoken expertise that none had anticipated. The patrons, now fully attentive, allowed themselves a collective intake of breath, the soft hum of the palace air and the gentle clinks of crystal fading into a hushed anticipation that centered on Emily's composed figure. She moved with fluid ease, her hands adjusting a stray detail here and there, ensuring symmetry and balance, her eyes calm yet observant, taking in every reflection of light bouncing from the chandeliers onto the pristine marble floors, every shimmer of ice catching the golden sunlight that streamed through the large windows. Gregory shifted slightly, realizing that his authority in the room had subtly shifted, his previous assumptions of superiority now challenged by the effortless demonstration of skill before him. Staff members who had been whispering nervously exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement that Emily's quiet diligence and practiced precision had transformed a simple task into a remarkable showcase of talent and composure. The soft, almost imperceptible sound of gloves brushing against glass and ice seemed amplified in the tension of the room, highlighting the meticulous care in every action Emily took, and the way her focused attention turned routine duties into a flawless performance. Customers leaning closer to observe were captivated not by spectacle but by the mastery in her calm and deliberate movements, recognizing in subtle, unspoken ways that skill often resides beneath the surface of the ordinary, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Emily allowed her gaze to sweep across the lobby, her brown eyes meeting Gregory's with quiet assurance, a gentle yet firm reminder that capability is not determined by outward appearances, and in that steady look, the staff realized the true measure of competence lay in dedication, patience, and focus, qualities they had underestimated. The intricate patterns of ice sparkled like small stars beneath the chandeliers, each reflecting the careful alignment and thoughtful placement Emily had executed with such precision that the palace itself seemed to hold its breath, the entire space drawn into the subtle power of her presence. A hush fell over the room, deep and resonant, as if the building itself recognized the unassuming authority she had claimed without a word, and the collective realization of the staff and patrons created a quiet yet palpable sense of awe that lingered in the air. Emily straightened once more, her calm composure unchanged, and the room remained suspended in a moment of reverent silence, an unspoken testament to the extraordinary effect of quiet confidence, meticulous skill, and the understated brilliance of someone who had been underestimated by those who thought they knew what to expect, leaving a lasting impression that would quietly reshape the way everyone in the lobby measured talent and poise. Emily stepped forward from behind the counter, her movements calm and deliberate as she approached the final display that had been awaiting attention since the morning setup. Gregory Lang and the staff watched her every action, the initial amusement and smugness having dissolved entirely, replaced by a quiet, growing realization of her capability. The sunlight streaming through the expansive windows caught on the edges of the ice, casting prismatic colors across the polished marble floor that danced around Emily's feet as she aligned the last piece with careful precision. Her brown eyes, steady and observant, scanned the arrangement to ensure perfect symmetry, the faint hum of the refrigeration units and the soft clinking of crystal creating a serene background to her meticulous actions. Customers, previously casual observers, now leaned in subtly, drawn by the elegance and calm authority with which she worked, each movement precise, each adjustment thoughtful, demonstrating an expertise that had been underestimated at the start. Gregory attempted to speak, his voice carrying the faintest tremor, but the words seemed inadequate against the quiet command of her presence. His posture shifted as he recognized the undeniable skill Emily possessed, skill that had turned what he intended as a scene of amusement into a display of flawless execution. Staff members exchanged brief glances, the whispered reassurances and confident smirks of moments ago now replaced by a collective, restrained admiration, their understanding dawning slowly that Emily's calm approach and attention to detail had transformed a routine task into something extraordinary. Each ice sculpture, each delicate swirl of chocolate, gleamed under the ambient light, reflecting Emily's careful adjustments and the seamless flow of her actions, while the subtle sounds of the palace, the faint scrape of a chair, the soft shuffle of polished shoes on marble, underscored the growing sense of awe that had taken hold in the lobby. Emily's hands moved with measured precision, adjusting minor imperfections, tilting trays just enough to catch every reflection, demonstrating that expertise is often quiet but unmistakably powerful. Patrons observed in hushed fascination, the room holding its collective breath, the air thick with anticipation as the final pieces fell into place perfectly, and in that moment of completion, a silent acknowledgement spread among the staff. The simple woman they had mocked had turned their assumptions inside out. Emily lifted her gaze briefly to meet Gregory's, calm, composed, and unyielding, conveying without words the quiet authority and skill that had defined her every action, and the staff, caught in that gaze, could only watch as the weight of their misjudgment settled into the room. The lobby, once buzzing with whispers and quiet laughter, had transformed into a space of respect and astonishment, the reflective surfaces of ice and marble echoing the unspoken lesson. True capability often resides where it is least expected, and the power of composure and precision can quietly command attention and admiration, leaving everyone present to reconsider their assumptions and acknowledge the understated brilliance of Emily Carter. The staff at the luxury ice palace remained motionless, their earlier arrogance replaced with a stunned, almost tangible silence, the shift in energy palpable as Emily Carter stood with quiet poise in the center of the lobby. Gregory Lang's eyes widened imperceptibly as he slowly comprehended the scope of her capability, the calm authority she had exhibited transforming the atmosphere from casual amusement to one of profound respect. Customers who had been leaning over railings and peeking from behind glass now straightened, their whispered exchanges replaced by attentive stillness, each person internally acknowledging the unexpected mastery that had unfolded before them. Emily's gaze swept across the room, her brown eyes steady and clear, reflecting an unspoken assurance that her work was complete, precise, and impeccable, and in that glance lay the subtle command that every movement in the palace now held meaning and order. The afternoon sunlight continued to stream through the large arched windows, catching the facets of the ice sculptures in brilliant colors that seemed to dance across the marble floors, highlighting the perfection of her arrangement and the delicate care she had taken with every element. The soft hum of the refrigeration systems, the gentle clinking of crystal, and the subtle shifting of patrons' feet blended into an almost reverent soundscape, emphasizing the contrast between the quiet elegance of her actions and the astonishment of those around her. Gregory exhaled slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly as he took in the scene, recognizing that any attempt at mockery would now be misplaced, the proof of her competence undeniable and complete. Staff members who had been poised for amusement now stood frozen, some with folded arms, others with hesitant nods, their initial judgments overturned and replaced by a respectful acknowledgement of her skill, the realization dawning gradually that Emily had navigated challenges with a combination of precision, calm focus, and experience that exceeded all expectations. Each ice sculpture, each chocolate detail, reflected the subtle excellence of her touch, and as the soft light refracted through the crystalline structures, the lobby seemed to hold its breath, suspended in the quiet drama of skill and composure triumphing over preconceptions. Emily allowed herself a small, serene smile, not for self-congratulation but for the subtle acknowledgement of her own mastery, a silent communication to the room that diligence, care, and quiet confidence carry more weight than outward appearances. The staff remained still, the tension now mingled with awe and muted admiration, while the customers absorbed the lesson unfolding before them. The ordinary often conceals extraordinary ability, and those who underestimate it do so at their own cost. In the charged hush of the lobby, with sunlight glinting across polished surfaces and reflections of ice dancing gently on the floor, Emily Carter exemplified the quiet power of competence and composure, leaving the staff and onlookers alike to recognize, without words, that respect is earned through skill, patience, and unassuming excellence, and that even in the most luxurious and carefully controlled environments, the unexpected brilliance of a simple woman can shift the entire room into a state of silent recognition. As the lobby slowly returned to normal activity, the sense of astonishment lingered in the air, a quiet hum of respect and awe replacing the initial whispers and snickers. Gregory Lang stood to the side, his posture now measured and restrained, recognizing that the events unfolding had shifted the perception of authority and competence in the room. Staff members moved cautiously, their previous confidence replaced by a newfound awareness of Emily Carter's capability, each small gesture from them reflecting the subtle understanding that the ordinary can conceal extraordinary talent. Emily adjusted her sleeves and straightened her posture, her movements composed and intentional, radiating a quiet confidence that seemed to settle over the room like a gentle, undeniable force. Customers glanced at one another, sharing muted nods and soft smiles, acknowledging the unexpected brilliance they had witnessed, the performance of skill and precision that had been so seamlessly integrated into what appeared to be a simple task. The sunlight continued to filter through the expansive windows, glinting off the crystalline ice sculptures and highlighting the meticulous care she had taken in every detail, each reflection a silent testament to her expertise and steady composure. Gregory took a slow breath, a subtle shift in his expression betraying the recognition of the lesson he had just experienced, that judgment based solely on appearances is often premature, and that respect is earned through consistent, deliberate, and precise action. The staff, moving with measured steps, began to attend to other duties, yet every so often a glance would flick toward Emily, an unspoken acknowledgement of her competence and the calm authority she had quietly established. Emily moved toward the counter, her hands resting lightly as she surveyed the entire setup one final time, ensuring every piece was in its intended place, each chocolate swirl and ice sculpture aligned perfectly, a seamless balance of artistry and precision. Patrons continued their gentle observation, their whispers soft and respectful, the energy in the lobby now suffused with admiration rather than anticipation or doubt, the transformation in atmosphere complete. A slight smile crossed Emily's face as she took a step back, her eyes sweeping the room in a silent, graceful acknowledgement of the collective understanding that had formed. Skill, patience, and quiet determination often speak louder than words or outward appearances. The polished marble floors reflected the afternoon light and the subtle glimmer of ice, creating a visual symphony that underscored the elegance of her accomplishment, while the staff and customers alike absorbed the unspoken message that excellence can reside in unexpected places. In the stillness that followed, punctuated only by the soft shuffle of feet and the gentle hum of ambient activity, Emily Carter's presence and performance had irrevocably shifted the room's perception, leaving behind an enduring lesson that competence, calm focus, and meticulous attention to detail command recognition and respect, and that even the most understated individuals can leave an impression that lingers long after the moment has passed.